We're going to take it here for a little while, updating you on this major breaking story. Donald Trump shot in the ear at a campaign event in Pennsylvania. One person dead, two other people critically wounded in that shooting. A bunch of bullets flew, apparently from a sniper who was outside of the campaign event. The former president saying tonight that he is fine. This is being investigated as an attempted assassination of a former president. President Biden calling for calm, calling the sick and saying there's no place for political violence in America.
Well, joining us right now is Tim McCarthy by way of Zoom. He was the former chief of Orland Park. He also was a former Secret Service agent who happened to defend Ronald Reagan back in 1981 when there was an attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan way back then. We have spoken to you many a times. I guess I'd like to know your first reaction when once again a former president this time is the target of an assassination attempt.
Well, it's shocking that we're going through this type of thing again. Fortunately, it's an attempted assassination and not an assassination. But this type of thing you hope never happens. Our political campaigns and discourse is pretty rough, but there's no reason for anything like for this to happen. Probably more importantly, you're going to have to take a look at how it happened and what can be done to prevent it. From what I understand now, it was a sniper on a building that had a view and, of course, was able to take a shot. It was puzzling to start with because it was hard to believe that, as you know, the entire arena prior to the former president getting there was swept to make sure there was no explosives or weapons in it, and that everyone who went into the arena afterwards went through metal detectors. So it was puzzling to start with, because if you go back, our historic assassin has been the lone gunman, and with the exception, of course, of John F. Kennedy. But the historic assassin, same in the case of President Reagan, was a gunman that gets close. So it's hard to tell. It was puzzling what happened because if it was a rifle round, you would have thought that there would have been casualties behind the president, that just nicked his ear. Yeah. So some reports I'm hearing, he may have hit the teleprompter first, and then the president may have been hit by glass, but I guess they're reporting now he's probably hit by the bullet. So it's a terrible thing for our country. I mean, we're strong, we'll survive it, but it's something we never want to happen in any of our political campaigns or in our political discourse.
Yeah, and the president himself, Tim, saying that he was hit by the bullet in his ear. For some reason, that's not accurate. The doctors will tell us, or someone will let us know that was misunderstood. Can you just walk us through how the security the level of Secret Service security might differ for a former president out on the campaign trail rather than the sitting president having an official event? Obviously, these things come together quickly. You want the audience to be closer to be able to interact. How's the security different, if at all?
Well, I can't tell you exactly right now, but I can tell you about protection for the president. And any type of view of the president would normally be blocked, or you would be put in a position where they didn't have that view. So you rearrange where the podium would be, so there isn't a view outside of the secured area. Now, in some cases, it's almost impossible to do that, but that's why you have Secret Service has counter sniper teams. You survey the buildings that have that will have an overview of where the protectee is going to be. I did note on top of a building what appeared to be a Secret Service counter sniper team. Obviously, or possibly, they never saw the person. But those are some of the techniques you use, and you want to block that view. You often see with the president covered arrivals. So when he arrives somewhere, he goes underneath the tent, things like that. So you want to block all the views you could possibly have. What level of, they did have metal detectors. So he's getting almost everything the president gets, but I couldn't tell you right now exactly what they're providing for him. But for the president, any view of the president from buildings that you secure the building, and you would put in a position, the president in a position where the view is not allowed, or if it has it, it's blocked with different types of shielding. You can put up campaign events, you can put up banners and things like that. So those are some of the things that are done for the president, and I'm not sure just exactly what a level of protection they're giving former President Trump, but it appears it's darn close to what the president gets.
Tim, would you consider this a failure of the security?
Well, I'll tell you, when President Reagan was shot, that was a failure too, because we didn't use metal detectors at the time. But while he wasn't killed, he was injured. So yes, it's a failure, plain and simple. If a protectee is hit, something went wrong, something's going to have to be changed. So anytime a protectee is harmed, there's something that has to change. You have to critically look at what happened, why it happened, and how it can be prevented in the future.
You know, I know you haven't been on duty for a while with the Secret Service, but can you talk a little bit about how the Secret Service and Homeland Security have adjusted their procedures to deal with the rise in our political polarization, the threats, how people are incited? You know, even have more guns in this country than we had in the 80s when Reagan was shot. How, you know, what adjustments have they made to be able to deal with just where we are in this country?
Yeah, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had lunched with the director of the Secret Service. She was in Chicago reviewing security for the DNC, and then driving up to Milwaukee for security for the RNC. And they're doing almost everything that is humanly possible. We live in an era now where you see, you know, the standoff type of weapons, drones, rifles that are accurate from hundreds and hundreds of yards away, IEDs. There is so much out there now that the possibilities are almost endless. I know, talking to the Director Cheadle, just about everything that can possibly done, that can be done, is being done. But remember, there is no foolproof security anywhere in this world. There is nothing foolproof. For every preventive measure you take, someone comes up with another threat level. So you try to bring the odds into your favor, and then count on the final ring of protection, which are the agents assigned to the presidential detail to react to it, cover and evacuate the president, or the arm's reach theory of going after a person with a weapon, or the threat if it's close by. But for every preventive measure you take, someone comes up with another, and it's 360 in every direction, above, below, and around now. And it's a daunting task. And you're absolutely right. There's more weapons out there than ever before. And it'd be important if they can find out why the person did it, what the motive was. I know the shooter appears to be dead, and what their motive was for doing it. And that helps from the intelligence side in the future.
Tim, how do you think this will change anything for the upcoming RNC and DNC?
I can assure you, talking to the director of the Secret Service, that absolutely everything that can be done is being done. And I think they'll double the efforts as a result of this. I think you will see our politicians, and of course candidates for the presidency, they want to be out there in the public. They want to meet the people. And of course, in our country, we want to have be able to shake the hand of our political candidates. So I suspect you might see less visibility out in the public for former President Trump as a result of this. But the Secret Service can only advise. We can't order the president or the former president or candidates not to do things. You simply have to react and provide the best protection that's available. So I think you might see less visibility of former President Trump while he's in Milwaukee, covered arrivals, and of course, no visibility outside of the protected area. It's a tough job. You know, our candidates want to press the flesh. They want to shake hands. And, you know, you can only advise. You can't force them not to do it.
Yeah, they remain commander-in-chief. While we talk about the RNC, we got a statement from the Republican National Committee and the Trump campaign confirming that the RNC is a go. They said, as the former president communicated tonight, he's doing well. He's grateful to law enforcement. He looks forward to joining the delegates in Milwaukee this upcoming week. Tim, really curious, that clip that we all keep seeing over and over again of the president, as he says, being shot in the ear. What do you see from the video of this incident tonight?
Well, I certainly don't like to see that type of video at all. And what troubles me, what I'm concerned about, how it happened, how the gunman got to the roof, how the former president was exposed. Was the building surveyed? Did our counter sniper teams obviously didn't see the person? So the important thing now is to learn from this, and thank goodness that it was only what appears to be a minor injury of the former president. Learn from it so it doesn't happen again. And if we have to ramp up the security for our candidates even more, then that's what we have to do, because we want a peaceful transfer of power. And in spite of, our political discourse gets pretty rough, I guess that's just going to happen and to continue for the time being. So more is going to have to be done, and our candidates are going to have to be less exposed as a result, or to use those techniques to diminish that type of exposure.
On a personal level, you have been through this before. Your immediate reaction, your personal reaction to this?
Well, I'm sad that people are injured. First and foremost, people were, I understand, killed, and sad about that. And our prayers go out to those folks. I'm glad that it was only an attempted assassination, and the former president is going to be fine. But it's got to be looked at critically and thoroughly to understand what happened and why it happened, and that I'm sure is going to be done. I'd like to know the motive of the person. Not that it makes a difference, but you can learn from it a little bit. But it's a horrible thing. We thought the historic assassin has been the lone gunman. You don't discount the people with sniper rifles. We'll never forget the Kennedy assassination. And it's just another sad time for our country. But the country's strong. Obviously, former President Trump is strong and is going to do just fine. And you're probably going to have to hold his horses to keep him from getting back out into the public right away, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's already
going to do that.
Showing resilience. If we could, control and put the statement from the RNC and Trump back up there. We wanted to read for you that, well, we don't have it anymore. The statement from the RNC, there we go. So, but sit tight, Tim, I want you to react to this. So, as you were talking about, the president probably going to want to push forward. Well, he is. In a statement, the Republican National Committee says the Milwaukee convention will go forward, saying, quote, President Trump looks forward to joining you all in Milwaukee as we proceed with our convention to nominate him to serve as the 47th president of the United States. As our party's nominee, President Trump will continue to share his vision to make America great again. The former president released a statement saying, I said I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all law enforcement for the rapid response. And then he went on to detail about being shot in the ear and the blood gushing down his ear and et cetera. Tim, obviously, we've talked about it. These conventions get extraordinary protection. Is it safe to say that the plan is to have Milwaukee be the safest city on earth next week?
What we'd like to do in the Secret Service is put the candidates and the former president and the president in a bulletproof bubble and carry them around there. But it's not going to happen. But I assure you, everything that can be humanly done, I'm certain is going to be done. In my luncheon with the director of the Secret Service, she was going over the things, and it didn't sound like there was a stone unturned. But again, you try to bring the odds in your favor in an environment where the threats are endless. And when I say 360, it's above, below, around. And, it goes beyond just the physical threats now. We know that there's threats that come from cyber, from drones, and from a variety of other different things. We've seen indications of people using a lot of technology to attack our embassies and people in our embassies. So there's all sorts of weapons out there. and the Secret Service stays ahead of it as much as humanly possible. And again, Milwaukee's a big town. There's going to be a big challenge in Chicago as well. But everything that can be humanly done is going to be done.
You've mentioned your luncheon with the director a number of times. Number one, I wonder if you're a consultant or still involved in that. And number two, I wonder if there is one particular threat that you're spending more time on. You mentioned cybersecurity versus lone gunmen.
Unfortunately, they're all equal. And no, I'm not a consultant. It was just a nice get together. She and her staff asked me to come down, and we exchanged, a lot of stories from the past. But more importantly, the challenge facing the Secret Service with the two conventions coming up. But it's an unending challenge. When we thought metal detectors would help solve the problem, now of course, we're right back to where the Kennedy assassination with a sniper on a building. So the threat is endless. That's going to have to be addressed. We asked if it was a failure. Yes, it is a failure. Plain and simple. And the Reagan assassination was a failure too, to the extent that he was injured. But fortunately, the convention is going to go on. The former president is going to be okay. As you pointed out, he's very resilient and probably more anxious than ever to get out on the campaign trail. But around the world, we see a lot of violence, a lot of political violence, and apparently we're not immune from it either.
No, we are not. But as you said, the former president is doing fine. He will press forward. Tim McCarthy, former Secret Service agent, thank you for your insights tonight.